All right, guys, today we're going to start talking about what happens after Reconstruction. Again, you'll have a note sheet. Make sure that you are writing this stuff down as we go through it. But this is going to be indicator 3.4, and this is the end of Reconstruction. So, with that, let's begin and let's talk about what happens after the Reconstruction period is over with. Remember that Reconstruction occurs from 1865 to 1877. We talked about some of the things that went on during that period and how the South is going to be occupied by the North. We talked about the Freedmen's Bureau. We talked about how the South was going to hang on to some of their old ways, but eventually, with the Reconstruction, when the military is sent in, it's going to do away with some of those things, and the former slaves and the freedmen are going to be protected during this period. But now Reconstruction is coming to an end. So let's talk about how it comes to an end and what occurs during that period. Remember, we talked about Andrew Johnson in the last lesson and how Andrew Johnson was president after Lincoln. He was impeached. The next president, though, would be Ulysses S. Grant. Remember, Grant was the military general of the North during the Civil War. He's a war hero. He's chosen because of his popularity and helping win the war. And so he is chosen as the next president. He was a Republican and he would win in 1868. But unfortunately for Grant, his administration is going to be known for mass corruption. The economy is not going to do so hot. Remember, with the South losing cotton and the problems that the United States is facing during this period, the economy is not going to be doing so well. So you had corruption, you had a poor economy, and they were mainly trying to focus on the Western settlement, and that was a hard thing too that was going on during this period. During this time, Reconstruction sort of loses focus. They're worried about all these other things other than Reconstruction. So during Grant's time, that's what's going to be happening. So Grant is going to be president from 1868 to 1876, and there's going to be a new election, and the 1876 election is going to have a lot of confusion. The problem was blacks in the South could vote, but had they been allowed to vote, they were intimidated, they were kept from voting. So some people were questioning whether the votes were legitimate or not. And because of that, they're going to have to decide how they were going to settle the presidency. And so they're going to settle who's going to be president with an electoral commission. And so this brings us to a compromise of 1877. And this compromise is going to settle the election of 1876. But along with settling the election, it's also going to get rid of Reconstruction. The Democrats are going to agree to allow Rutherford B. Hayes, who was the Republican candidate, to become president as long as the North would agree to end Reconstruction. And so the Republicans in Congress, mainly Northern, are going to agree to end Reconstruction as long as the Democrats would agree to the election of Rutherford B. Hayes, who's also a Republican, as the next president. So this is the compromise of 1877. The votes were in question. Rutherford B. Hayes eventually becomes president, and with his presidency, we get an ending of Reconstruction. And again, the Democrats had to agree to Rutherford B. Hayes becoming the next president. So here we go. Compromise of 1877. Just to explain it a little bit more. As a result of this deal, Rutherford B. Hayes would get 20 votes and become president. Hayes had made a deal with Southern politicians for the 20 disputed votes, which were in question at the end of the election of 1876. And in exchange for those votes, he would remove all federal troops from the South. He would give several key cabinet posts to Southerners and promote and finance railroad projects that would benefit Southern agriculture. So that was the reason why he ends up winning. The Democratic candidate was a guy named Tilden, and you can see the votes. It was 184 to 185, so you can see how close it was. And the 20 disputed votes, which they're talking about over here, would eventually go to Hayes. So, the results of the Compromise of 1877, that Reconstruction would be ended and the federal troops would withdraw from those military districts from the South. The Democrats would eventually take over the South after this election. Remember, for a while they weren't allowed to even run for office, and it was mainly dominated by the Republicans. But now that this has happened, this compromise has happened, the Democrats are going to be solidly in control of the South. Therefore, they call it the Solid South. 90% of the South is mainly going to be Democrat. Again, the South becomes known as the Solid South because of the Democratic domination in those southern states. The Democrats are going to control the southern states throughout about an 80-year period up until the Civil Rights era, which will begin in the late 1950s, early 1960s. So, what happens after Reconstruction comes to an end? Well, of course, these military troops are going to pull out, and the freedmen are going to lose their protection. They had been protected by the Union Army being there, and now that they're gone, we're going to see a rise in violence. With the KKK is going to emerge. Again, if you don't know what the KKK is, it stands for Ku Klux Klan. It was an anti-African American group that tried to intimidate blacks and African Americans living in the South, mainly at the voting polls. Lynching took place. There were public punishments, beatings, hangings of these former slaves, and threat and violence were used to prevent these former slaves from exercising their right to vote. We also saw the emergence of what we call the Jim Crow laws, and this is where blacks were segregated from whites. And these Jim Crow laws remained in place from 1876 until 1960, till the emergence of the Civil Rights era. And if you don't know what segregation is, it just really means to separate. And blacks lived in a certain area and whites lived in a certain area. So again, these were the Jim Crow laws, and these remained in place in the South from 1876 to 1960. They mandated de jure segregation in public facilities in the South. Uh, Remember, that was where it was put into law, and segregation was forced by law. And again, you've probably seen some of these pictures. You had a white water fountain and what they would say a colored water fountain. You see the signs up above where everything was separated. We get an important case that happens in 1896. It's a Supreme Court case called Plessy versus Ferguson. You definitely need to know this one. Supreme Court case. And what it did was it basically legalized segregation in public places as long as those public places were equal. So this is often referred to as separate but equal. And so Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, makes segregation okay, to separate blacks and whites in public places. And as long as the facilities were equal, then it was okay. And that's what Plessy versus Ferguson did. And what was the case? Well, Homer Plessy was 7/8 Caucasian and 1/8 black, and he took a seat in a whites only train car. And because of this, he was told to leave, actually. And he refused. And again, this case eventually gets brought to the Supreme Court. And again, Plessy versus Ferguson pretty much legalizes segregation. Know that it was separate but equal. They said that Plessy versus Ferguson satisfied the 14th Amendment as long as they were equal. And remember, we just talked about the 14th Amendment and how you can't discriminate. You had to allow for due process and all those things. Those were in the 14th Amendment. One of the other ways that we saw the South trying to get back at these former slaves, again, was to try to prevent them from voting, not having a right for the right to vote. And so, one of the things that they did was they asked that they pay poll taxes. They had to also pass literacy tests. A poll tax, again, you pay a tax for voting. When you went to the polls, a literacy test showed that you could read and write. And this was a way to get back at the freedmen because they knew that a lot of them couldn't because they hadn't had education because they had been slaves for most of their lives. This violated the 15th Amendment, saying you can't discriminate based on race and sex. And of course, that's this, every person would have the right to vote. And so this is going to be a direct violation of the 15th Amendment. The other thing that the South would use was something known as the grandfather clause. This would allow whites to vote if their grandfather had. So they got around the literacy test and paying poll taxes just simply because their grandfather had voted or their father had voted. And so that's the way that they got around those things if they couldn't read or write. So the grandfather clause was also put into place. Make sure you know what the grandfather clause was, and make sure you know how they kept them from voting with poll taxes and the literacy test. Again, grandfather clause, even if they couldn't read or write or pay the taxes, they were still allowed to vote because their grandfather had voted. Many of the blacks that were living in the South are going to fall further and further into poverty during this period as well. And this is when we saw a migration to the North. We saw a lot of African Americans and former slaves move to the North. This is often known as the Great Migration, and this took place in the 1890s. They were just tired of the Jim Crow laws. They were tired of the issues that they were dealing with in the South. They wanted to be able to work, and so many of these former slaves are going to move to the North in what is known as the Great Migration. Make sure you write that down and make sure you understand what the Great Migration was. This is just an example of a literacy test. Read through it. If you want to pause it and just look at it for a few minutes, you can see this was done in the state of Louisiana. And of course, if you missed any one of these questions, you could not vote. And you only had 10 minutes to complete the whole thing. So you can see how confusing this was. And it was made to be confusing to keep these former slaves from being able to exercise their right to vote. Again, this is a cartoon. You can read about the 14th and 15th Amendment, which again talks about citizenship with the 14th Amendment, and then the 15th Amendment talks about the right to vote. But you might want to look at this, just read through it, and you can see some of the things that were actually done. Okay, that's going to do it for 3-4. You'll have a series of questions that you're going to need to answer. That will be on the Google Classroom assignment, but please make sure you answer those questions. And I will catch you guys on the next one, which will be 3.5, and how African Americans are going to try to make progress after this period of post-Reconstruction. Okay, catch you guys on the next one.